Hello, everyone, and welcome to Afternoon Schmooze on Rusty Mike Radio. Tune in and you'll never go hungry for honest chat again. This is Nettie Feldman, and I'm talking to Desi Akale, Director General of the Ethiopian National Project, and Grace Rodnitsky, Director of International Relations. How are you all today?
Thank you very much.
Doing great.
Okay, now, it's been 20 years since Operation Solomon, when how many Ethiopian Jews were brought to Israel? Can you tell me?
The Operation Solomon has been in 1991. It's 20 years before, and at that time they came 14,325 Ethiopians to their homeland.
Now, this was on a Saturday or on a holiday, right?
That was happened on Friday. It starts Friday and it ended in the Saturday.
Now this.
So I was at that time in the army. I was the officer in Israel army, and I participated in this operation. And I was the person that entered the plane and told the Ethiopian immigrants, "Welcome to Israel, to your homeland." That's for me. It's a very, very pleasure, and I was very happy that our community is coming in 36 hours, 14,325 Ethiopians to Israel. It's not easy. It's very hard. But I was very glad that I was participating in the operation.
Now, I wanted to say something. It was on a Shabbat. I remember it was a holiday or something, or Shabbat, and we saw many planes, going toward the airport, because I live not so far from the airport, and we knew something was going on, and we only knew after Shabbat, and we found out. So it was very, very, very exciting for everyone.
Yeah.
Now, ever since this has happened, I know you came to Israel much earlier, right? You came like 7, 8 years.
I came in 1983, before Operation Moshe through Sudan. My way was very hard. To go from Gondar to Sudan, it takes around 800 kilometers in foot.
You walked, right?
I walk on foot, and the way is very dangerous. There is dangerous animals and dangerous things. For example, snakes and others. We have also in the middle of the way, the robbers are coming. They came and took everything what we had. So we left without nothing. At that time, I remember the person that led us to the border. He didn't know the way, but we had a donkey that is our GPS. He from
That's good.
From Armacho to the border of Sudan.
Wow.
And also we are keeping this donkey from the hyenas, because if the hyena eats this donkey, we don't have any GPS to get to the border.
Oh my
so
goodness.
This is a different, the hard way that I pass it.
That's amazing. I can't even think about walking to Israel. Of course, I came from America, but for you, I'm sure it was a very, very arduous journey. Now, can you, Desi, can you say that it's been better for Ethiopian Jews in Israel?
Before that, I think we have today 120,000 Ethiopian Israelis are living in Israel, and most of them are under 18 age, and also most of are involved, and they are very happy that they are in Israel. But the situation is not easy; it's very hard, because they came from the village side, and they are not. They don't have professional. They are not professional workers, and to get a job by this kind of things, it's very hard for them, and we are trying to help them to be very pleasure in Israel. But the feeling of my community is very, very happy they are in Israel.
That they are in Israel. But there are, I think, and Grace, also you may want to jump in at some point. Israelis are they welcoming? Do they take part with? Do they engage the community?
Well, I can tell you, I was here, for instance, for Operation Solomon on May 24th, on that Friday night. And I remember the emergency radio broadcast on that Sabbath evening announcing that at this very moment, plane load after plane load of Ethiopian Jews are returning to their homeland.
Amazing.
And I felt the happiness and the joy of Israeli society, absolutely, totally welcoming of brethren who are returning home to be in Israel.
But that's at the beginning, because it is very, very. It's overwhelming when you find so many Jews are coming to Israel. But how is it? How have Ethiopian Jews acclimated or integrated into the general community?
Today, the greatest challenge is that the vast majority are living under the poverty line. 65% of the community's children are living in poverty. And when you live in poverty, when you're in a bad neighborhood, everything that goes along with that impacts on your future. So these kids who are in bad neighborhoods have poorer schooling and fewer opportunities. And that's precisely then the understanding of Israeli society. Because the Ethiopian Jewish community is oftentimes living in poverty, then the assumptions of the remainder of Israeli society are those of assuming all the things that go along with those negative elements, such as poverty and crime and the like. Our challenge is to make sure that the community can fulfill its potential, because it has huge potential, but it's not being utilized because they don't have the opportunities that are available to other Israelis.
Well, but that, and this is the reason why you say that Ethiopian Jews aren't integrating into Israeli society, but there are plenty of Israelis who are also on the poverty line.
Absolutely, and it's the government's responsibility to ensure that Israeli citizens are able to achieve their potential. But with the Ethiopian Israeli community, they have additional challenges, which oftentimes are because of the cultural gap and because of the fact that their parents have come and are unable to provide the support to their children. So it's that those additional elements which the Ethiopian National Project is addressing to ensure that the youngsters and the entire community can really make it in Israel and be fully integrated.
So what are you doing to help them?
I think the government of Israel and the diaspora Jewry and the Ethiopian community are together. We are trying to do something to change this reality. Our change, what we do is today to give everything for these children in the education field, and they can to become involved in the Israeli society as fast as they can. That is our
goal.
Hope. So that's what we are doing today.
So how are you doing that?
That's precisely the objective of the Ethiopian National Project. What ENP is doing, it's a finger on the pulse, and it's identified, for instance, today, some of the greatest unmet needs are with teenagers, 13 to 18-year-olds. So, for instance, we're providing intensive scholastic assistance, after-school professional teachers with some 4,000 children, just $1,000 for one child for 1 year, providing them with everything that they need so that they can succeed on the examinations that will enable them then to get into college and to break that cycle of poverty by getting good jobs and themselves becoming breadwinners so their children won't need programs like these. The other thing we're doing, these kids that are living in the bad neighborhoods, we've created youth outreach centers in the heart of those neighborhoods so that these kids can go and be surrounded by positive role models, be permitted to dream and to discover what their potential is, so that these kids can really break out and discover all that they're able to do. So E&B is doing precisely that work with these kids.
So how successful are these projects?
Everything that E&P does is externally evaluated. We don't want to just feel good about what we're doing. We want to make sure that what we're doing is effective. So we have external evaluators, and we're very much a learning organization. We take the data, we take the statistics, and we work with it to always explore how to make our programs better. Just one statistic: youngsters who are in our program, our Scholastic Assistance Program, have 43% greater chance of getting into college than youngsters who are not in our program. And kids who are in our program for 3 years or longer, that skyrockets to some 50% greater chance. In other words, kids in our programs are succeeding. The other major statistic is with juvenile delinquency. Prior to E&P's launch of our youth outreach centers, there was a 643% increase in the number of new juvenile delinquency files among young Ethiopian Israeli kids after 2005, when we launched our youth outreach centers, and since then, those statistics have dropped by 60%.
That's very good. That's very impressive. That is very impressive. How many of the kids who have already been going to these programs gone on to college or to vocational school, vocational or higher learning?
We've now been operating our programs for 6 years, and so what we're seeing is, of course, there are some children who, from the 7th grade, those are the kids who were in our program for that 6-year period, are now going into the college, or they're going into the Army, actually.
Okay.
And the youngsters who are in our program that we started from the 12th grade or the 11th grade or the 12th grade, they're now completing their Army service and going into college. So what we're seeing is that there's some 3,000 Ethiopian Israelis in colleges and universities today, and we're going to keep looking at that statistic and see how we're able to impact that. And also what we're looking at is what areas of study these youngsters are going into, the college students, because we're encouraging them as much as possible to get into engineering, to get into, become the future lawyers and doctors, to really make an impact in Israeli society.
What
is the government doing to help you?
The government is participated by this project in 15%. The finance is coming from the government, and 15% is coming from the others. What the government is, they are pushing us to do a lot to improve this situation, these people, to become Israelis without feeling they are the second class of the Israeli community.
Right, that's exactly the point. But so in other words, the government is funding this project, but you get donors also, or how does that work?
Absolutely. We're very much looking at especially the Jews of the diaspora and all over the world for assistance to fund the programs that we're carrying out. Again, just $1,000, that statistic that I gave you about the additional kids who can get into college, that's all that it takes in order to get into the program. So North American Jewry is incredibly supportive of our work and all over the world.
You said, I'm sorry, I just want to say $1,000 a year makes
Correct.
the difference. Makes the difference, right?
Absolutely.
And the government matches any funds that people will donate?
Yes, what we're looking to do today, we have today 4,000 youngsters in our program. We're looking to get to at least 8,000 youngsters. In other words, 1 out of every 2 Ethiopian Israeli teenagers, of whom there are about 16,000 in Israel.
Okay.
And what we're looking to do is, for every $1,000 donation that we get, to do precisely that, to demand from the government that they match that new donation so that we can get back to those numbers of some 8,000 kids.
That's great. How do people donate?
Well, I can encourage people, first of all, to go to our website, which is www.enp, which is short for Ethiopian National Project.org.il. That's www.enp.org.il. And there's got contact information. There's a way to directly donate online, and those are ways that they can immediately be in touch with the Ethiopian National Project. We're also on Facebook, ENP Israel. If they search on Facebook, then they'll be able to find us, or the Ethiopian National Project, do a search. And you can also follow us on Twitter, and we even have a blog. But perhaps one of the most exciting new ventures that we've started right now is something new, what we've called Solomon's Mosaic. And people can look for the site at www.solomonsmosaic.org. It's SOLOMONSMOSAIC, Mosaic. And there what we've done is it's a resource on everything about Operation Solomon, celebrating the 20 years to Operation Solomon. But we've also created a mosaic that individuals can literally purchase a tile, be part of this virtual mosaic, and 100% of the proceeds of those tile purchases will go precisely to what we were talking about. That's supporting the Ethiopian Israeli teenagers to enable their participation in our programs. So going to www.solomonsmosaic.org is another opportunity to make a difference in Israel through ENP.
I'm just overwhelmed as if that takes only $1,000 a year for education, to educate a child so that kid will end up going into college.
It really is such
amazing.
A little amount that makes a huge difference. And when I look at the Ethiopian Israeli community, I equate it in many ways to American Jewry. American Jewry is less than 2% of the population of the United States, yet it's reached the highest echelons of American society. We believe, too, that Ethiopian Jewry can be among the highest echelons of Israeli society, but they need to be provided the opportunity to really fully tap that potential, and that's what we're looking to do.
Well, I wish you a lot of luck, and I'm sure this broadcast has gotten a lot of people listening, and they're going to go to the website. Desi Akalet, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Grace
Thank you very
Rudnitsky,
much.
it's my
Thank
pleasure.
you.
The Ethiopian National Project, thank you very much for being on today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Okay.